So, exercise number 8. Gonna build a boat, and we're not gonna go too far into the boat. So, in my video for this one, I'm gonna show you how to create the shape of the hull. And if you want to go farther and pretty it up and make it look more like a boat, and you have a little bit of flexibility in doing that, and what that's gonna look like when it's done. You can go crazy as Chris does with with this in some of his videos. Encourage you to check out his video on exercise number 8 on vertanux1.com, vertanux1.com, and check out Chris Sikora's video on that on YouTube and see the rest of the story. But we're going to keep it simple because we're short on time here for the rest of the semester, and we just want to knock out the base part of this, which is if I'm jaws in the water and I'm looking up at the boat, I'm looking at the hull of the boat from the bottom underneath here, that we're going to knock out this part of things. And if we look at it, it might look a little bit simple as you're looking at it, but when we look at it, there's a little bit of complexity here. So we start off very small in the front, just like a boat hull does, and we end up a little bit narrower than the widest points of this hull along the way. So in the way that we're going to go ahead and create this thing is that we're going to create a series of sketches. Okay, and we're going to put those series of sketches and arrange them on different datum planes. So we're going to create different planes certain distances apart from this original one in the back here. We're going to sketch this first sketch here to create this. And I want you to think about, if you're familiar with how an airplane wing is put together. We think about an airplane wing, we have the surface of the wing, all right? So we're going to say this is our airplane wing, a profile of it, okay? And it's very terrible. And my paper is not cooperating very well. But imagine for a moment that it is cooperating a little bit better, okay? And we have an airfoil. So we have the top of that airfoil, and then depending on what kind of a wing we have, we would have that bottom profile of the airfoil. So we have that shape, that wing shape. And as we go along that wing, right? So we're going from the center of the fuselage here out along the wing. Every so often in that wing, we have ribs in those wings. And then those ribs are attached together with stringers and a main spars that go through the center of that, attach all those ribs together. And then as you have those ribs strung together and you have sheeting over the outside of it, which is aluminum most commonly these days on most airplanes, unless you get really fancy or you grab something that's really old, or you're doing a home built thing where you might do something different. But this is kind of what we're doing with the boat. If you think about the boat, and if you've ever seen Titanic or some special about Titanic, we know that they had bulkheads in the boats, right? And this is what those sketches essentially are, the bulkheads. So we have several that we're going to design in here. And then we're going to attach those things together, essentially with stringers like we do in an airplane wing, but it's going to be the surface of this. So we're going to have a couple different sketches, and then we're going to connect the edges of those sketches together and use Creo to do that. And Creo is going to make it look real pretty in between. All right, so that's what we're doing. All right, so let's get going. We're going to do a new part. I'm going to call this one exercise 8 and get that started. We are on page 83 of Chris Sikora's book. And we're going to start off and we're going to set up some planes first. But just one note about Lab 3D, which happens to be on page 82. Which feels a little bit out of place where it is, but I'm not going to put up a video about Lab 3D. I feel like you should, by this point, be more than confident and competent enough to go ahead and knock that thing out pretty darn easily. So I'm going to leave that one alone and let you guys just work on that one. So here's what we need to do. we're going to set up several different planes. So this is going to be our front plane. And then we're going to set up 3 more planes offset from that one. So one 6 inches away from it, a second one that is 8 inches from the one previous to it. And then we're going to have one more where there's a spacing of 1 inch between these final 2. And then on each of those 4 planes, okay, we're going to create 4 separate sketches. And then we're going to, at the end of it, we're going to loft those 4 together and do a swept blend or a loft, whichever way you want to call it, to connect those 4 sketches together. That's what we're doing. All right, so we're going to start off. Let's set up these planes and get this thing going. All right, so we need to have a front plane, right? Okay, we have that there. Let's turn this on so we can see it first. Okay, I want to go ahead and I want to create a plane. Okay, my reference is going to be the front plane because that's where my first sketch is going to reside. My second one that I'm going to create, which is going to be called, we're going to call this DTM1 or datum plane 1. Okay, the translation on that or the offset, we're going to set how far apart those 2 are. So it's 6 inches from that one to that one. Okay, 6 inches apart. All right, we're going to hit OK there. And then we're going to do another one, and it's going to be from this second one. And the distance between those is going to be 8 inches. And I know the scaling looks really weird on here, but there's nothing as a reference. So the plane is just massive. So the spacing in between things looks out of sorts, but that's okay. So the second one to go to datum 2 is going to be 8 inches. And then for datum plane 3, we're going to create one more here. And that translation or that offset is going to be 1 inch. So now we have 4 planes. Okay, gotta zoom in real good. There's the original one, the front one, DTM1, DTM2, DTM3. Okay? So we got those. So let's go ahead and we're going to create a sketch. And that sketch is going to be on. Oh, we had that one selected. So let's hit cancel. Let's get out of there. Let's go and select the front plane first. That's where we want to start. Then click on the sketch. And then it's going to be on that one. So we had it on DTM3, which where we don't want it to be. All right, so let's go look at this from the front. So head on. Let's zoom in a little bit. So we have our origin there. And we need to sketch this sketch here first. So take a minute when you set this one up so that we get our dimensions looking like this. Because what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to copy this thing after we make it the first time. And then we're going to paste it onto each of those subsequent planes. Those datum plane 1 and 2 and 3. And we're going to paste this sketch, this first sketch that we put on the front plane, onto those other ones and make adjustments to the dimensions. Because remember, the shape of that boat hole changes, right? It starts at the back like this, and then it gets a little wider, and then it gets narrower as we come to the front, and we come to a narrow point at the end there. So that's what we're doing here. So let's go ahead and get this sketch in. Let's zoom in a little bit there. So it says we should use the spline tool. So we're going to use the spline tool here. We have 2 dimensions that we can use to kind of lock this in. We have 2.5 horizontally, 2 inches vertically, and then we have the rest of these there. So let's go ahead and get this set up. We're into sketch mode already. Let's get a vertical line on here. Back into our sketch mode. If I clicked off of there, so we get into the line tool, we find that origin. We're going to put a vertical line, exit out of that one, go back to that origin again, and get a horizontal one going. Oh, I did that backwards, didn't I? Let's try that one more time. We want that one going that way. And that one going over that way. Let's get these dimensions in here. So we have 2.5 horizontally, 2.5. And then this one is going to be 2. Now we have things scaled. Okay, and see all these planes? Let's look at this for a second. Now you can see that things are scaled a little bit. Here's our front plane we're doing the first sketch on. There's DTM 1, DTM 2, DTM 3. Okay. For the moment, I'm going to go ahead and turn these off so that as I'm doing this sketch here, it's not quite so distracting, and we'll turn them back on in a minute. All right, so let's zoom in and let us use the spline tool. And all we want to do is make something that looks kind of like we have here. Okay, so it has 3 points, 2 points rather, in between. And it connects to the end of that line there. Okay, so I'm going to double center click to end that. And then I have those points on that spline that I can go ahead and come in and dimension. So let's get these dimensions laid out the way that they have them on here, just so we're looking at things the same way. That down there, bring that 2.5 a little bit farther out, bring this 2 inches a little bit farther out too. And let's get some other dimensions in here. So we need to go from here, from there to there. Bring that out over the side, 1.5. And then we need to do there to there. Bring that out over here. That one is 1.25. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing. Popped in some dimensions for us here. Let's go ahead and get those. So we have some semblance of order here as we do this, and then get these scaled to what they should be. 1.5. And then 0.5. And now we have what looks like that. The important thing about this sketch, one, obviously we get the dimensions right. The other thing is that this upper right corner resides on the origin. That's going to be important because now what we're going to do is we're going to draw a selection box, selection fence around everything. And we're going to copy this. There's a bunch of different ways we could do it. I like just doing control, holding the control button down, touching on C. So we've copied it. I'm going to hit OK because that sketch is done. Then I'm going to turn my planes back on and kind of get myself an offset view here. And now I'm going to come and do a new sketch. But I'm going to select DTM1 because that's the next one that I want to draw on. So select that first and then do sketch. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my view back to the front. So I'm seeing that. And then I'm going to turn off all these planes so they're not so darn distracting. And then I'm going to do Control V to paste. And then I'm going to click on a point here. And I'm going to paste in that sketch. Okay. I'm going to paste in a copy of that sketch that I did before. All right. So that paste is, we're going to hit OK to that. And now we have all the dimensions for there. It scaled it a little bit when I pasted it in. That's okay. But the first thing we need to do is make sure that we get this corner located on the origin because we want all of these subsequent planes that are lined up in a row with these sketches on there. We want that upper right corner on all of them to line up with each other. And we want the upper right corner of each one of those sketches to line up with each other. All right, so how we do that, we use a coincident constraint. We pick that corner, We pick the horizontal line, and then we're coincident with that. And then we do it one more time, corner again, and the vertical. Origin X, origin Y. And we get it coincident on that. And now we are lined up in the corner. So now we just need to go through and adjust the dimensions on sketch number 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Now be careful sometimes when you go and make adjustments to these things. Okay, we know that the order that we choose to do this in sometimes can make a difference. Okay, so if you go and change one of these dimensions and everything goes sideways and goes right to hell in front of you, back up a step and try approaching it the other way. So there's a particular way when you're going to make multiple dimensions larger where you want to start. You start with the smallest, you start with the biggest one. And then the opposite way when you're running the opposite direction, which way do you want to do that? So let's look at this. So we have, I'm going to start out on the outside here, and I know this one has to be 2.375. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set my biggest one over here at 3. Okay. And I want to come in and my vertical, second one, 1 3/4. Okay, I'm getting scared because I don't like what this is looking like. Oh, that looks better now. Okay, there's hope. There's hope still. I drag this out a little bit more. So we have some order to this stuff. Otherwise, okay, there we go. So this second one now is 2 inches. And then this one, the smallest one, horizontally is 3/4. All right, we have all of those set. And notice that those dimensions on that one are bigger than the first one, right? So remember, it bows out. It starts out smaller. It gets bigger on that second one. Let's hit OK. Let's go ahead and turn our planes back on. Let's look from the side here. So we got 1 done, 2 done. Now we got to come back up here. Okay, so we're going to click on that one. DTM 2. We're going to click on sketch. So we started a sketch on there. So your sketch is going on here. Let's go ahead and get lined up from the front. Let's shut off these planes again so we don't get so distracted. And let's go ahead and paste in that sketch because I still have it. It's still in the memory. Just dump it in there. Hit OK to paste it in. And same process. We're going to go ahead and get the corner. Use that coincident constraint. I'm going to click on the corner. Click on the horizontal origin there. And the X. And we're going to go with the vertical. And grab that one. So corner. Vertical. And we're lined up on there. We're all sharing that same upper right corner. All right, so sketch number 3. Let's get those dimensions on there. Pretty close to what we need here. So let's go ahead. Let's start off in the center here. Let's try that one. Let's get this adjusted, 0.2. This one is going to be 0.6. This one is, I lied. Hold on. Let's get out of that one. Let's get this one right because this one is 0.375. This one is 0.6. And let's get these fixed. 0.675. We'll start on the inside on this one. 0.2. Second one, 0.5, half an inch. Final one, 0.675. All right, we got all those. Those are all set. That is sketch 3 on plane DTM2. Let's hit OK on there. Look, we got 3 sketches now, 3 in a row. Let's turn the planes back on so we can see. And then we got to do one more on DTM3. Okay, DTM3, start the sketch. Same process as before. This is a really easy sketch, though, to do. This one is going to be really easy. So let's go back to the front. Let's turn off the noise with the planes. And let's come right up here, and we're just going to sketch this guy out. So it shows us in our numbers here that this is what we got to sketch. It is, what, 10 thousandths wide, 10 thousandths tall, and then we're going to use a spline and make it look like this. Some other CAD programs, we could do this. This 4th sketch could be just a point. Creo is not going to allow you to go and use the point as the final reference or the final object on a plane to make this work. Okay, Fusion will work this way, Adventure will work this way, some other programs will work this way, but Creo does not. So we got to actually sketch this thing. Do you care about that information? Maybe you do. If you came from another program and you're wondering why the heck we don't just do it with a point, there you go. For the rest of you, take a drink of water. All right, so let's go back to that last one. And let's go ahead and sketch that guy out. We need a line like this. We need a line like that. We need to get out of the tool. We need this to be 0.01. We need this one to be the same thing. All right, they're equal. Oh, I set up a constraint for them to be equal by accident because I drew them the same length, and there we go. Worry about changing the dimension there. All right, last thing. Go spline. And we're going to do that same thing. 2 points in there, so 3 segments. And we end it. See, that one's sideways. We don't like that. Nah, we don't like that. Let's undo that. Spline one more time. 1 click. 2 clicks. 3 clicks. Center twice. Get out of there. Okay, there's the profile. That's all I need. Okay, 10 thousandths there, 10 thousandths there. Done. Okay. Hit OK. Now, when we zoom out, that thing is really freaking tiny. We look at all those planes. We go aside. We zoom out. We move around. We look. Now we have 1, 2, 3. And we zoom in really damn far. There's the last one. So now we got to go and connect all of those together. Okay. Before we do that, we need to make one more sketch. So we need to go to the right plane. We need to create a sketch. Okay, and let's look at this so we're looking at it from the right. We're going to draw a line. It starts on that origin. That's where everything begins, right? I'm going to close out the line there. Whoops. I'm going to set that length to 15 inches long. Okay. Look at that. That runs right through the middle of everything and the origin of all those things. Okay. So finish that sketch so it's done. Let's turn all these planes off so we can just see what matters now. A little tiny sketch there. Our bigger one there, biggest one there, and then our one at the back. All right, so now we're going here. Swept blend. Swept blend. We're going to click on that. We want to start back here. So we see that purple arrow, that pink arrow, that magenta arrow, whatever color that thing is. That one is right back here. If it's back this way and flipped around that way, we don't want that. Okay, so click on it so it's back here. Okay, here's where we need to get our options right. So our sections, we're going to pick selected sections. We're going to start in the back there. Click on that first one. And we're going to hit insert. As soon as we hit insert, that's going to allow us to pick the next one. Look at that, we got part of it already. And we're going to hit insert again. I'm going to come up here, we're going to grab this one. Oh, we're really close now. And insert one more time so that we can zoom all the way in and grab this little freaking sketch that's hiding here. Okay. Now we have all those selected. We have that selected. We have all of those. There we go. That's what was missing. So we didn't have all three sides as selected on there. All right, so we see everything's connected now. We have OK shows up as an option. It wasn't there before. We had to fix that. So now it says that's a possibility. Okay, let me just remove that again so we can see what happened there. Let's go ahead and insert another one. What happened was when I clicked on it, it only gave me part of it. And see how we have that little red arrow, that little red dot? It's a warning there. We need to get everything. We need to get the whole thing. So if we hold the shift down, then we can grab the other side. And we got that. So we hit OK. We're almost there. The last thing is we got half of the hole, right? Okay, that's easy. We can do that. We can fix this. So let's select that. Mirror the thing. Click on the face, which would be the center line. And there we go. And you can go back in here at any point if somebody happens to say, I think we're going to need a bigger boat, or I think you're going to need a bigger boat, would be the actual line, right? We can go back in and edit these sketches, change the profiles of those things, extend the length of theirs, change the offset between those sketch data planes that we created. We can make the boat longer. We can change the profiles to make it wider in spots. We can do whatever we want to. So remember, if you want to go crazy and you want to add and make yourself a nice boat for you like Miami Vice, most of you have no idea what the hell that is. If you like fast boats, boat racing, you want to make yourself a fishing boat out of this thing, whatever you want to do, you want to take a little bit farther, go and check out Chris Sikora's video for Tanya1.com for exercise number 8 in Creo, and he will take you a little bit farther. As far as I'm concerned, this is what I need. I need this Creo file, And I need a nice, also a nice PDF of what that thing looks like. Get it oriented some way so we can see what it is. And please, if you go crazy and make it look more like a boat rather than just a hull, make sure you take a nice screen capture of that too, because I love having better images of those things for things like thumbnails and examples for other people too to show off. So that's it. That's exercise 8. Get it done. Get it turned in. Looking ahead here, we only have a handful more to go. And looking at exercise 8 after that, lab-wise, the number of labs kind of get cut down in these ones. So after we do exercise 8, lab 8 is a pretty short guy. I think you guys are okay on that one. I'm going to leave you to your own devices on that one. And in the next one, we'll get down to top-down assembly modeling. So something we haven't touched quite yet. Just a couple more to go. That's it. See you later.